It's as if I've got a sixth sense, right? Like that magnetic organ that birds have, so that when they migrate, they always know to head directly north or south. I'm feeling that. But it's not a north or south situation. I'm talking, at least from, my perspective up here in Ohio. Now, I'm feeling a draw. Out west. I'm feeling a draw to a certain expo, a certain LA Fit Expo in Anaheim. And I'm getting I'm getting extra excited. It's I'm pretty spoiled because the Arnold is right in my backyard. So I only have a quick drive every year that comes around. But every Olympia now, every Fit Expo, every it's just this congregation of beef that you never run into anywhere else. It's not even like something that could be compared with anything else. I mean, it might depend on what your gym is, right? Like if you're, running around in New Haven and you've got that powerhouse, then yeah, you're used to seeing some beasts, Or if you're always going down to Gold's Gym in Venice or Metroflex, Texas, yeah, you're going to see guys like that all the time. But, don't forget, what percentage of, total freaks out there go unseen, And not, because they want to be seen, they just aren't. Like, there's millions, well, I don't know about millions, but there's easily tons of just beasts from all over the freaking country, all over the freaking world, who, we just don't really get a glimpse of. And these expos are a good highlight of just really seeing, who's about what. And for me, at least, every time I get to go now, because with my regular working out, I feel like my overall, ampedness and motivation, it's good. It's, I'm always trying to bring it a little bit harder, but for the most part, I'd say I'm getting close to as good as I can get. You can never get perfect, but that's kind of the whole point. It's always this, pursuit forward. And, I've had times, especially when I was younger, where I had a bad lift, I had whatever happen, and it just gave me a little extra motivation to say, I got to raise the bar. Myself, personally, I need to raise my bar of effort. I got to bring it harder. And now, what really gets me to raise my bar, it's not so much seeing what I'm capable of, per se. It's kind of, being able to compare with every other dog out there, especially when you get to see them in person and all these kind of, expos and just, every kind of bodybuilding competition that you may or may not ever go to. You can see things on your phone. You can watch an Eddie Hall deadlifting 500 kilograms, or now a half Thor doing the 505, or watch Chris Bumstead on the Olympia stage. But if it's on your phone, dude, it is not the same. All right, I don't care how 4K, 8K Ultra HD you're looking at it. Seeing these guys in person, it's just a totally different freaking world, right? I'm talking VR glasses to just standard real life. You're never going to beat that kind of immersion. So that's why I'm getting excited. Plus, there's going to be a couple of lifts. There's going to be a couple of extra special lifts for me. So that's something I'm getting excited to see. I really get to see what I'm up against. But yeah, we're gonna pop up to Sam booth. We were working on hats, but they're not going to be done in time. That would have been kind of a good lineup of a little bit of a drop, but they're coming. But it'll end up being mainly some shirts, Gila Mix kind of specialty molded hoodies, or no, what am I saying? Not hoodies, shakers, and then a couple of other things there. I don't know what my actual hour by hour schedule is going to be, but since I'm planning on working out first, we'll just have to see. Definitely gonna need a lunch break, because if you're ever well, I guess that's probably an unlikely thing to be able to relate with, but you got to take a lunch break in between for sure, or else I'll wake up the weekend after, by the time I fly back on Monday or Tuesday, an expo, just standing around getting to talk with everybody, dude, sometimes I'll drop 12 pounds. It's freaking nuts. So I'm gonna make sure my food intake is peak, or at least on track for what it should be. And then I'm excited to hear everybody's stories. There's from more people than you'd think. You know, this will only be able to, only a few of you guys are going to know what I'm talking about here when I say this. But I got to see Dale Chance and his son at one of the Arnold's, I think 2 years ago, and that was a real freaking, you know, meeting of the minds. If you if you know what I'm talking about with Janoi Kresva. But yeah, this will be fun. And I know I'm just talking in circles, but it really is cool seeing all these guys in person. No, it's just extra fun. But plan for the lift today with arms. Pump them up, go nuts, don't hurt myself, and then come home and get ready for a solid ass meal afterward. So I think nothing else to discuss. Let's just get started. Let's start buys differently than last arm day. Very differently. Because my last arm day started with 80-pound dumbbell curls. So today, well, 80-pound cable curls. But really that 80 pounds isn't 80. I'm only feeling like 40. Because if that's 80 pounds of steel and it's got one extra pulley in the mix, that means the weight gets divided by half in terms of what it feels through the cable. So basically 40-pound curls, and I'm going to go back and forth, single arm, 5 reps on each side, and then, you know, kind of just go from there, right? So in the beginning, I want to do a little bit of a hold, a very slow, eccentric, same thing, very controlled, I mean, basically textbook style reps. But as the set progresses, I don't mind getting a little nastier. If I know I've got like maybe one really good clean one, but I could do another 5, you know, kind of slightly swinging body language ones, I think it's worth it, right? And that's my training style, and then I like how pumped I get from it, you know, so it's not just for no reason. It's kind of more of a personal experience thing. But if you're a perfectly clean rep or bust kind of guy, and that works for you, don't let me stop you, keep going. As long as you're pumped, nobody can deny what you're doing. That's how I feel. All right, come on. One notch heavier for this one. So this is one tip, and sometimes I just like starting a workout off a little lighter, but if you're ever in a crunch, like if you don't have a full comfortable hour and a half to have a lift where it's like, I can do whatever I want, no need to rush whatever, then you're good. But if you ever have to like, okay, shit, I've only got 40 minutes for arms, I'm probably not gonna wanna, it's not wasting, but I wouldn't wanna spend 20 minutes warming up for a crazy heavy set of dumbbell curls when I could just jump right into a light squeezing set of cable curls first, you know? So it's almost like kind of the classic logic of pyramiding up sets, because then you're doing working sets, you're getting yourself warmed up and pumped and fatigued and everything, but you're also doing working sets in the process, you know? So just a little more efficient. Not to say I don't like starting heavy, but sometimes starting light works out too. Okay. Let's move on. Get two openers. Arms is, or at least biceps, are taking a turn from the last arm day, and that's what I want. I don't want to sit and come in every lift and do the exact same thing. That's just not the nature of lifting. That's not the nature of life, right? If you do the same thing every freaking day, you'll get the same result, but nothing new, you know? You go to a vending machine, every time you hit 147, you get the same snack, right? If you want to change it up, you got to, change something up about the setup. But let's start with some, and I say light, it's not, but you're very strong on a bicep biased pull down. I can do way more weight doing this kind of like downward sort of dragging bicep kind of curl than I can a standard curl here, It's just because your lats help a little, and it's just more of you never have so much tension in your biceps. But I do like these at least every so often because they're so different than normal, right? I mean, if hamstrings can be hit pretty hard on a lane curl, they can also be hit pretty hard on the seated curl. Same thing with the RDL. If every time I come in for a curl, or a bicep movement rather, it's always this, even if it's a preacher or a dumbbell or a machine or whatever, it's always here. Shoulders in the same place, arms bending. At least with this, it's kind of a different stretch because it's kind of a multi-angle sort of thing. But if you zoom in, it's still a curl, right? You're not reinventing the wheel of hitting your biceps. I don't think there's a huge benefit to sitting and doing a few sets of supination specifically. Maybe, I've never really done it, so I guess that's not true. I'm not gonna speak so guaranteed like that. But either way, I like these a lot. So let's throw them in for one. Or actually for two, rather. And the straps help keep my forearms out of it. All right. Two. Okay. Okay. Whew. All right. Now let's do a conventional curl. Grab the 60s and go wild. And by wild, I kind of do mean wild, you know? So I'm not saying that I just want to smack the curls around for no reason. And if every set I did looked like this, I'd probably come to the same conclusion, right? If the only training I ever saw someone do was really erratic, there might be room for criticism. But, and I'm not saying there's no room for criticism for me, but what I'm saying is after having done now 4 squeezing, kind of more burning, slow, very controlled sets, the feeling that I get from heavier weight and slightly faster reps, so faster transitions from flex to stretched, it just kind of does something, right? And it could be like a sarcoplasmic swelling effect or a pump or a burning or lactic acid, whatever. I'm concerned with putting the weight down and being able to say, okay, that felt like a good set, or that didn't really feel that good at all. I want to move on and do something else, you know? So that's my gauge. Now, of course, you kind of have to develop a sense for that. And I think I've got a decent sense, at least for me. But all that's to say is this is going to feel good. All right. Going for 20 here. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, I lost count after like 10. One more of those. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Oh. Let's do a cable curl. And I think that might be it for biceps. And we still got triceps. Gonna repeat a movement, but not entirely, because it's really just a repeated movement in a combination. So as a finisher for biceps, and honestly, if I was done with that set of 60s, I'm cool with that. I feel like I've kind of done enough, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure I'm good. And that's my cue to usually add one more. So same thing as before, squeezing, burning, kind of, bicep bias pull downs, drop the weight in half, smack the cable down to the floor, and then just finish with some curls. And I don't need these curls to be complete failure. What I really want out of this set is just to really feel a good kind of burn. And honestly, by the end of the set, I want to feel substantially more pumped than the beginning. Sometimes arms is a little tricky. You don't have a good gauge apart from just subjective feeling. Hamstrings is cool because as my hamstrings get more and more pumped, especially when I'm doing a seated curl over there, it gets to the point where my hamstrings won't even fit and I have to put the leg notch one bump higher because my hamstrings are getting so pumped up on the bottom, it's thickening up my leg enough that I have to accommodate it with the machine. But I think this as a finisher will be good. Then we can start tris, which honestly, I want triceps to be the star of the show because biceps, if they stayed totally the same, but my triceps got a few extra inches of mass, game changing. Guys who have, too big of biceps, that's never the case. It's more so that their triceps don't match. Sometimes you can just get a little bit of a look, it's very rock climber wrestler, That's not what I'm aiming for. All right, I'm aiming for kind of the brolic, if I could pick anybody's arms to look like. Kevin Levroni's are up there. Who else? Arms like freaking basketballs. And it's not because their triceps are huge. Like it is, but it's also because their tris on the backside actually really represent. It's like if somebody has a huge chest, but no back. You got a cool chest, but things are just not in proportion, So do I think I'll ever get Rolly Winkler arms? Let a lifter dream, right? Let a lifter dream. Let's hit this shit. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's start some push downs. All right, let's start tris basically exactly the same as bis. So with those curls, 5 reps alternating, gradually transitioning from really good squeezing to more kind of just nasty pumpish. So I think that's the plan here. Gonna start with the right side first because my right tricep is lacking. And then go from there. Oh my gosh. That was good. Doing these single arm pushdowns are a very easy, long head emphasizing squeeze. But the keen-eyed among you will notice there's some freaking letters on my back. Wanted to go a little more plain and not in your face. Because I mean, I get it. You know, big ass shirt that says pumped over the back. But now with this kind of sweat activated one, it's just a plain ass gray. And then once you actually are pumped, it'll actually say it. So we're bringing those to the booth at Anaheim. That'll be one of the specialty, you know, kind of newer drops. I'm not sure how many shirts we ended up getting. It took a minute because sometimes the sweat, like the ink, well, that's R&D talk. Either way, that'll be there. A few more. Actually, no, one more of these. Yeah. Oh, shit. All right, let's move on. 2 of those was perfect. I've got a different movement planned, but first, let's just do a quick burning set of the rope. So very light, only 130, and these aren't gonna be slow hold and burning, just a little kind of, you know, quicker to failure. So if this is 25 reps, I'm cool with that. Because even just doing a couple feelers, you know, felt extra good. All right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's just do the one of those. And then you're probably not expecting what's next. I didn't think I'd like it either, but it actually feels pretty good. That would be the pullover. You're freaking correct. So, plan to make it a little bit more, well, tricep-y, is essentially just climb inside, and instead of going for this overhand flying motion, stand up, don't use the seat, and kind of just bend over for more of a press. I saw a clip of somebody doing these with like a dedicated tricep machine, and this is very similar. I mean, it's different, but because it loads at a different angle, but once you actually get it loaded, I mean, shit, if your gym has the Arsenal pullover, you also have an Arsenal pushdown. In a way, you know, it's kind of, might be an acquired taste for some, but I did a feeler rep of this yesterday during back, and I was like, yeah, this will be good. So that's the plan for right now. Maybe 2 of these, we'll see. All right. All right, there we go. All right. Okay, there we go. This is the only way I can do a rest pause. Oh, yeah, that's too much. Woo. Holy shit. That felt friggin' sweet. 2 more of those. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, man. Oh, one more. Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. Oh, man. Let's pose down. All right, I did not expect that I would end up being this freaking sweaty today. But that's actually just a good sign that I've got enough fluids in my system to, be able to even have this much to sweat in the first place. But yeah, I can definitely wring this one out. Let's see what kind of drippage we can get here. Oh yeah, that's terrible. The sun's too far away to hang this thing outside. Just put it over the freaking preacher bench. But all right, let's see how we're looking. And I'm getting close to my peak off-season shape. With some ab definition, I am okay with that. I have been much softer after, this long of a period of, weight gain. So this is sweet, but... Oh, goodness. It's even hard to get into a real proper front lat spread because my triceps are so freaking tight. But yeah, that's what I want to see. And I'm definitely seeing a lot more. I mean, obviously I'm pumped, but this is a lot more horseshoe separation than I'm used to seeing. And that's good for me. I've got a habit, or I used to have a bad habit of all my push down movements. I kind of feel like I'm spreading my triceps like up and out, if you can imagine. And I would get a lot of short head up here, this smaller portion. Whereas now I'm always trying to pull almost like back and in, and it helps me get a lot more of this long head, which is really, shit, most of the beef of your freaking arm anyway. But let's see how we're looking for the backside as well. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Shit. Even that's a cool angle way over there. Let me see if I can point it myself. There we go. Oh man. Well, solid ass arm day. Dripping wet. Definitely need to replenish my freaking fluid and electrolyte balance. Good thing I've got a jug in the car already. So shit, man. Nothing to say but awesome pump. Let's freaking roll. All right. What are your arm goals? Do you want 19-inch arms? Do you just want shredded arms with veins and like a bunch of cross striations on your triceps and like a little bit of fancy grain right up here where your bicep inserts? And you know, what exactly is the driving force behind your arm training, or you know, your half arm training if you're more of a push-pull kind of guy where you're doing bis and tris separately, right? But you know, what's that kind of overarching, like, I want to be or I want to have blank that kind of gets you going? You know, I've gone through the process of like number motivation, where it's like, holy shit, 19 inches pumped. All right, that's only a 1 inch away from 20. All right, that's only 1 inch away from 21. You know, I think I've got close to 21-inch arms pumped. Probably more like 20 and a half. Pump, like 21 pumped is cool. 20 unpumped, that's freaky. I think I'm more like a 19 or so unpumped, which is still cool, right? But I've kind of backed away from being so like number motivated, because it's like, well, you know, by the time I get 20, I'm just going to want 21. By the time I get 21, I'm just going to want 22. I mean, that's almost more of just a smaller stepping stone goal. So if I put it a little bit more, you know, broadly scoped, you know what I want? I want bigger arms. And that's, you know, that's a goal that really has no end. You know, it doesn't have a point of satisfaction or a point where you can say, all right, I did it. But it also means you can achieve that goal almost constantly. At least, you know, in an off season when you're growing, because if my goal is to get bigger arms and then over the course of a month, you know, I've gained like a 1/4 inch pumped, that means I did it. I have bigger arms. I still can get bigger arms, but I've, you know, kind of actually completed the task on its own. So it's like this twofold situation where you never achieve the goal, but you're also always achieving the goal. You know what I'm saying? So if your goal is just overall, you know, weight loss progression, instead of like, okay, you know, I need to hit 200 pounds lean, I need to hit 220. You know, if your goal is, I want to be leaner, I want to keep losing body fat, and you kind of just keep it, you know, sort of pinpointed there, then, you know, sure, you've got a long way to go, but every pound on the way there is still an achievement, right? You're doing it. So it's not so much reaching a state of being, it's more so trying to maintain a state of becoming, you know, kind of a constant sort of improvement, or in some cases not even improvement per se, but just constant change, you know, because you're never going to wake up the exact same guy, and I definitely don't want to, you know, feel like I ever will, you know. But with the lifting, that's how I end up thinking about it. I don't have a day where I'm going to say I did it, but also every day I get to say I did it, you know. So kind of a funky way to look at it, but that's what I like. You know, there's no end. It's kind of just a continual, not even grind, because it's fun. You know, it might be different if you seriously hate working out. You hate being sweaty. You hate the feeling of doing like a difficult rep. You hate the gym, but you go anyway. That's a different grind. That's a guy who's got a totally different perspective on the situation than me. Because for me, just getting to come in every day, that's the fun part. You know, out of everything I do, I can always say, okay, well, I've got a chest day later today. That'll be good. You know, no matter what else is going on, that always gets to be a little bit of a highlight, which definitely spoils me, because then that puts me in a position of showing up. That's not the challenging part. Really trying to bring it like as hard as I possibly can. That's where it gets a little tricky. Like the last few sets of or reps of some of those, you know, pullover push downs where I had to kind of bend over and rest. But even that's fun, because it's like, you know, I want to push myself like that, you know. So it's just kind of just something to get comfortable with. You know, I don't think, I mean, you know, we could all say if we rubbed a golden shaker and a genie popped out, like, oh man, I want to have this inch arms and this legs this big, and I want to squat this much, and I want to, but, you know, if everybody instantly got that wish, like let's say we're living in an alternate universe and that was just the way things were. Like, you could have as many gains as you want. Well, then it wouldn't be cool, because it's not something you have to, like, work to get, right? The whole point of a lot of, like, just anything that's kind of fun is the fact that there's kind of a challenge around it. It's like that quote that Jake said. It's, if everybody got everything the minute that they wanted it, there'd be no freaking point. But that's more of, I guess that's almost kind of a cope, because we're in the reality where we can't have it like that. So it's almost like, screw it. It's fun that it's hard. Kind of chip on your shoulder style. But yeah, that was a really nuts arm day, and shit. I'll see. I'm not totally sure when I'm gonna start peeling down, because I want to give myself a little bit more time for this next preps, just so I can be like super crazy dialed in. But also, I'm much leaner now than I was last year at the same time. So, I'll see, right? Because it won't take, 16, 18 weeks. That's pretty much about as long as it takes for me to get pretty freaking lean. So that would give me, January, February, March. Well, really, January, February, March. So 3 months. Yeah, I don't really have to seriously lock in until like November. And that's 5 months. So, yeah, I'll just give it some time. No need to start peeling down and trying to, shrink too early. But what I don't want to do is, try to stay too soft too long. And then I've, got to really crunch if I want to be like crazy lean and peak shape for the Arnold. But that's not something I really have to worry about now. I've got enough on my plate just making sure I get my meals in and, continue my upward size trajectory before I have to think about that. But yeah, nothing else to say there. For some of you, I'll see you guys in Anaheim.